You're watching TechShark, bite-sized news for conservatives surfing the net. Unlike other shows, we're not just complaining about big tech tyranny or media bias. We're talking about how the conservative movement is starting its own solutions and creating its own content. Today, I'm joined by Dave Rubin of the Rubin Report.
How you doing, you conspiracy theorists and right-wing nut jobs?
And the founder of Locals.com. His video for PragerU explaining why he left the left has well over 14 million views on YouTube alone. He's part of an elite group of free thinkers who terrify the totalitarian left, a successful author of multiple fine books available wherever fine books are sold, and who actually answered the challenge when the far left told us to just build our own platforms. Thanks for joining me on TechShark.
It's a pleasure to be with you. You know, they kept saying build it. I thought, all right, if nobody else is going to do it, I guess I will. So here we go.
Yeah. Okay, so right to the point. You have quite the history of doing everything from stand-up comedy to hosting an internationally famous talk show. What was the last straw with big tech censorship that made you take fate by the horns and start your own platform?
I can give you the exact moment. It was December of 2018, and you may remember that a guy by the name of Carl Benjamin, who on YouTube at one time went by Sargon of Akkad, he was booted off Patreon because he said the N-word, but he did not say it to be racist or to be pejorative. He said it because he was mocking the very people who use that word. Now the issue became, it wasn't just about the word, it was that he said that word not on his Patreon channel, nor on his YouTube channel that was funded on Patreon, but on a third channel, meaning he was being interviewed by somebody else. So he did something completely off platform that was not racist, and they deleted his channel immediately with no recourse. And at the time I was on tour with Jordan Peterson, and obviously big tech was something that we had been talking about for quite some time, and censorship and all of those things. And to us, that was a bridge too far. I discussed it with Jordan for a couple days. We said, all right, we're both going to announce we're leaving Patreon. That was where my company was making about 80% of its rev. I have several employees. I pay for everybody's benefits, all that sort of thing. So to leave was not something with no risk. But by January 15th, I announced I was leaving Patreon. I had my brother-in-law, who has since become my partner in Locals, who's a tech guy. He built me a subscription model that we used for me. And that became RubinReport.com, which was just a monthly subscription site for people that wanted to support what I do. But that moment was the genesis for Locals, because once we realized we could do it for me, create a functional, stable subscription service for me, we thought, well, we should spin that off to other people. And then, and this is what really became cool about Locals in the last 2 years, we thought, well, now there's a lot of other stuff that we can give other creators as well. And that was the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, I signed up for Locals.com, and after trying so many new platforms, I gotta say, I love how clean it looks, and the fact its whole selling point is that it's not just another Twitter, but it helps commentators start their own communities and directly get donations from fans without worrying about some liberal payment processor getting in the way. What has your experience been seeing the platform grow? Like, what's one of the coolest interactions you've seen that made the whole investment worth it?
Oh man, I'll tell you a great story. So I can't tell you too much about this specifically just yet, but we're in the midst of fundraising right now, which, as you know, it's fun, it's exhilarating, it's painful, it's annoying, it's like every human emotion known to man. It's incredibly time consuming, of course. But things have been going really well for us because as you're saying, our product is slick, it's clean, it's important. We're not trying to replace Twitter. I'm not trying to build a platform. I'm trying to build a set of tools. I always tell people that Locals builds digital homes for creators. We build you the home. What you do in your home is up to you. We can help you expand your home, but basically it's yours once we build it for you. But the best moment so far in terms of fundraising and the most exciting sort of moment in the community that proved something to me was about 2 months ago. I was in Florida and I was at a big meeting. You know, everybody has moved now from Silicon Valley down to Miami. They're fleeing Silicon Valley because of taxes and regulation and wokeism and the whole thing. And they're basically rebuilding Silicon Valley, hopefully with a more libertarian, conservative bent in Miami. But anyway, I'm at a dinner that was set up for me to pitch basically to a bunch of very well-known investors, guys with major money. So we're talking about Locals. They're asking me a lot of questions. I said, you know what, why don't we do this? I'm gonna post in my community right now. I'm gonna say I'm sitting in Miami at a dinner with investors. You guys tell me what you love about this locals community. I said, don't hold back, criticism is welcome, go ahead. And then I literally 5 minutes later, I waited, people get push notifications when I send something out. I waited 5 minutes, we had about 400 comments within 5 minutes. I handed my phone around the table. And I can't tell you everything, as I said, but we got investment because of that night, because we went to the people. So I'm deeply appreciative of the people who support me, because now they've helped us grow this company quite literally.
So a major idea I talk about on my show is getting cancel proof. So when entire platforms are being completely destroyed, whether it's the servers that deny them access, or it's the payment processors that deny them, or censorship, how would you say that locals.com is cancel proof?
It's a great question. It's the $1 million question. I mean, look, we've seen extraordinary things happen. It's not just people getting their accounts deleted, or you can't post certain things on Facebook, or depending on your political ideology, they're going to deboost you or shadow ban you, et cetera, et cetera. We've seen, obviously, you're referring to this, Parler literally got their servers, nuked by Amazon in effect. So I would say this. There is no absolutely perfect system right now. There are technologies on the horizon that can perfect the systems. I'm leery when someone tells you they've got the perfect solution. But I would say we've solved about 95% of the problems for 95% of the people. In other words, we're working on decentralized storage, we're working on decentralized payments. Obviously, those are the key things. You want to make sure that Amazon can't just turn off your servers, or that your payment processor doesn't allow you, in effect, to accept payments. Those are just two of the problems, but those are two of the big ones right now. Right now, we use Stripe as our payment processor. They've been great, but one of the key things that we do is we don't centralize it, in that all of the locals creators, they're not using local Stripe account, they're using their own Stripe account. So that is not perfect, meaning if Stripe, for whatever reason, has booted you, then I can't help you at this moment, although, as I said, we are working on decentralized payments. But the point is that the more you take away a centralized power, so that not everyone's going through our payments, there isn't just one big platform, you're responsible for what happens in your locals community. That's how you defray a lot of the risk on all of this stuff. That being said, we're working with some people right now, and we have some new investors that are working on the cutting edge stuff related to decentralized storage. But even when it comes to that sort of stuff, there's all sorts of, I would say, ethical and philosophical and technological and moral quandaries that come up, because, so let's say you're a creator and in your community, we decentralize the storage, meaning it's going to exist forever because it's on, it's on 1 million computers and it's out there. Well, okay, that's fine for your content, but what if people are commenting on that and then they put, something that's really highly illegal up there, or they, whatever that might be? Well, should that be decentralized too? So we're talking about all of these things, and I'm talking with ethicists and technologists, and we're trying to deal with it in the most mature way possible. That's sort of the beauty of our timing right now. The internet, as we know it, has sort of existed for 20 years. We've been able to see what all the mistakes were, what so many of the weak spots were, and we're trying to address one at a time. But trust me, if you interview anyone that tells you they have the perfect solution, not only technologically, but legally and philosophically or morally, no, they don't.
That sounds accurate to me, definitely. So something that you and I have in common is that we both come from creative backgrounds. You've done stand-up comedy on the East Coast. I grew up as an actor on the West Coast. Historically, I think conservative leaders in our century really dropped the ball on supporting creativity, the arts, aesthetics. I mean, I think many conservative policy wonks don't like admitting that people are more persuaded by emotion and art than by facts and charts. That's just a fact of life. So how do you think conservative leaders can learn from this going forward?
Yeah, well, first off, it's changing right in front of our eyes. I mean, wokeism, modern progressivism, which, judges people based on group characteristics, and I would say is a modern day racism in effect. It's the people that are purporting to be the anti-racists who are constantly making everything about race. They're the ones constantly making everything about gender and sexual identity and all of those things. They've destroyed comedy. I mean, when's the last time you saw a good comedy TV show come out? They've destroyed comedy. They've destroyed Star Wars. They've destroyed the Marvel movies. They've infected all of these things that we once all loved because they believe politics in essence is God, and they've decided to put politics into everything. So I think there's an incredible opportunity. I wouldn't even say it's just conservatives. I would say conservatives, libertarians. I would say anyone non-woke. It's basically woke or conservative these days, but I don't mean conservative like you're necessarily a card-carrying Republican. It means you want to conserve something remotely decent about the free America that we've had for 250 years. I think there's incredible opportunity for that. The people that I find funny right now, I mean, check out Nicole Arbour. Girl's hilarious, and she's a conservative. See what Candace Owens is doing with her new talk show. There are plenty of people. I do stand up when I can, when we're not in crazy lockdown. I don't have a lot of jokes anymore. I just get up there and have fun with the crowd the same way I do my show. And people are open to that. One of the things about being a human is we need humor because, to loosely quote Oscar Wilde, it's like if you tell people the truth and you're not funny, they're gonna kill you. So it's a subtle way of getting some truth out there, and we desperately need it. But look at the hysterical, endlessly pandering, awful comedians that have all become crazy woke lefties. I mean, it's almost everybody at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, have you noticed that the far left and the woke establishment is more scared of guys like you, of Jordan Peterson, of Joe Rogan, far more than they are of conventional conservative commentators? I mean, why is that? I mean, my theory is that guys like you can actually persuade liberal or centrist types in high school or college that are otherwise unreachable. I mean, liberal tech journals like Kara Swisher, for example, who writes for the New York Times, she doesn't want her kids becoming conservative, right? So what's your take on why specifically IDW types terrify the far left much more?
Yeah, I think it's the blend of culture and politics that, if you take loosely the IDW crew, let's say the more right-leaning ones, so maybe Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro, me, if you throw a guy like Steven Crowder in there, guys that are sort of using talk in a different way to not just talk about politics. I would say out of that crew, Ben is the most specifically political. But Jordan is talking about really the nature of reality and the meaning of existence. That's his main driver, getting yourself in order, cleaning your room going forward. It then becomes a conservative political message because conservatives seem to care about that. They believe in individual rights. They believe in human ingenuity and figuring out things for themselves. I think I've sort of fit in the middle of that also because of the tech part, because I just went all in on trying to create a company. And I don't fit the regular model of what a conservative is for several reasons. So it's like they don't have to worry about the stodgy conservative who's at the think tank in DC, who's just getting ideas out there that just never accomplish anything. What they have to worry about is, the 17-year-old maybe, or the 15-year-old, or the 40-year-old who watches Why I Left the Left on PragerU from 5 years ago and goes, whoa, there's something going on here. That is much, much scarier to them. So that's why the Kara Swishers and the Taylor Lorenz and I don't even know most of their names, but these ridiculous tech journalists at the New York Times and Mashable and the rest of these nonsensical places, that's why they're always trying to destroy people. That's why, look, Clubhouse came out, and then what did the New York Times write? Clubhouse has unfettered conversations, and that could be a problem. Boy, people talking, that sure is a problem.
Exactly. Yeah, there's been a lot of headlines in the news lately about cancel culture being institutionalized. We got censorship, financial blacklisting from banks. Public schools are seeking to punish parents who don't want critical race theory forced on their kids. I mean, call me a pessimist at this point, but I don't think that live and let live society is coming back anytime soon. It's either bow to cancel culture that's taking over everything, or declare institutional independence by joining usually some kind of conservative institution that at least will more or less leave you alone. While it seems celebrities like you or Joe Rogan or Dave Chappelle can't be canceled, is there a way for everyday Americans to become more cancel-proof as well in this crazy society we've got?
Well, look, no matter how famous you are or how big your celebrity is or how much money you have, they can always figure out an angle to get you. I mean, this is a very elegant monster. I'll give the devil his due. I mean, this parasite is pretty scary. It's like the movie Alien. Like, that thing killed a lot of people, but you kind of got to admire, it gets in the stomach and gestates and bursts forth and everybody's dead. You got to give it a little credit, right? I would say this, that in essence, people do need to start building new institutions. The institutions are not coming back. You know, my lefty friends that aren't totally woke, but think if we just are nice enough to the woke crew that not everything will crumble, I just see no reason to believe that will work. To me, it's like you're building a house on quicksand and you keep digging and you keep getting deeper and you keep going, but I'm a nice liberal, I won't sink, something like that. As opposed to the conservative side, which is it's like, let's build new things. I mean, look, that's why I put my money where my mouth is and I started locals. I think conservatives need to start new schools, new charter schools. They have to start homeschooling programs. I think conservative businesses, by the way, will flourish. You know, one of the beauties of wokeism is that it will crumble upon itself. If you say that you're a company, it doesn't matter what you make. We make widgets, it doesn't matter. Are we gonna, what you would wanna do in a sane society is, well, we're gonna hire the best people to get us to sell as many widgets as possible so the company can keep expanding and we're gonna make as much money as possible and then maybe we can do all sorts of other things and everybody is gonna be lifted at the same time. That's really how capitalism and human ingenuity works. The woke have decided if you work at a widget company, you better have a diversity inclusion office and not hire the best widget makers, but you're gonna hire people based on immutable characteristics. Now, that's not to say, of course, that someone that is this color, that sexuality, this gender, whatever it might be, is not qualified. But as a business person or an educator, or if you were running an airline or a hospital, you would only want to hire the best people to do the best things. If I had a heart attack right now, I would want the best doctor. I would not care about the skin color of the doctor. But if I found out that the doctor that I'm about to go to, well, he got into college easier because of his skin color, he got into grad school easier because of his sexuality, then got the job at the hospital because of the skin color and the gender, well, he's probably not the best doctor. Now we got a problem. So I think ultimately conservatives, and again, I say conservatives in this sort of broad sense, will build new great things. That's what I'm interested in doing. And the other guys, it will crumble, and just how much destruction can it cause? That's the real question.
That's absolutely true. There really has been a fascinating political realignment. I mean, lately, it seems that the old school skeptics like Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, or Bill Maher, that's a dying breed. I mean, everybody,
it's dying.
Everybody from like the March for Science types to big tech now actively take a dogmatic stance and condemn scientific facts they don't like. So what's your take on how progressivism via critical race theory or gender ideology has basically become America's new witch hunting religion?
Oh, it has become a religion. And the fact that you mention Dawkins and some of those other guys, a guy like Sam Harris. I mean, some of these people who I like to some degree, I think the purely atheist view of the world, the purely secular view, which may be the end of liberalism. At the end of liberalism, you get this purely secular view, which, by the way, in my book, although the entire book is a defense of liberalism, I make the argument that you need some sort of belief to at the macro level to organize around. Maybe not at the micro level. You can be an atheist and be perfectly moral, of course, but for a society to organize, you need something bigger. So I see a complete connection between the collapse of the atheist movement that was very hot a couple of years ago. That's what you're referring to. And I spoke at the Reason Rally. And by the way, when I did speak at the Reason Rally years ago, I brought up the fact that we, meaning the lefties and the free thinkers, were gonna have to fight our own side. And a lot of people were not happy with me for saying it, but I did see some of this stuff coming.
It's you're woke or you're out, meaning if you don't select these 10 things that the woke people want and you have to do it the second they want you to do it, then you're out.
To me, your choice is very clear. Go to the wokesters who are gonna hang you and string you up, or go to the conservatives who maybe you have some differences on religion or on some fairly important political issues like abortion, but they wanna live in the same country as you. So the choice is fairly obvious to me.
I gotta say, I'm feeling optimistic. Spring is here, the sun is out. I'm excited for the next big win for the online freedom movement, whatever that will be. All right, hey, we're out of time, but it's been great having you on. Thanks so much for joining us. For those at home, please check out locals.com and check out Dave Rubin's content. You've been watching TechShark. Once again, I'm Alexander Hall with MRC-TV and Free Speech America. Have a good week.